All right, everyone. I'm Christine Rosenberg. I am the training expert. I'm a project manager and implementation specialist at Quinyx. And we also have with us Carl. Are you there?
I am here. Hello, everyone. My name is Carl Geiger. I'm Chief Product Officer at Quinyx. Today, I'm on the call to be able to answer any questions that you might have during the demonstration. So please ask your questions in the Q&A function. So you should see a Q&A option in the bottom menu of the Zoom application. Ask your questions there as they might come up during the session, and we'll have some time allocated at the end to go through and answer those questions.
Yes, thank you. So the purpose of this webinar is to give you a chance to see the new interface and know how to go forward and know where to turn with questions. But like what Carl was saying, above everything else, the purpose is really for you guys to be able to ask your questions. So we have an hour and a half allocated. The plan is to, let's see here. If I can switch the slide. The plan is to talk a little bit about the differences between Classic and Neo. We are going to log in and show you Neo. We're going to show you the new functionality. We're going to show you how to navigate the system and spend some time looking at Neo. We have also dedicated, we will also make sure that you know what resources you have available, like I said, where you can find help to the questions that you have when we're not online with you. But we have set aside about 30 minutes at the end to ensure that you guys can ask as many questions as you want. This session is for you, so please ask questions, like Carl said, via the Q&A functionality, and hopefully we'll be able to get to all of them today. So as far as the differences between Classic and Neo, I'm sure you have been learning them. We have, at this point, Classic will no longer be accessible at the end of the year. So now we are forcing the customers, or forcing you rather, into some of the Neo views to get you familiar by the end of the year, so that you know what you're doing in the system, and then it won't be, a shock by the end. So Neo is obviously our new interface. The main differences in the system, one of the big things that we have been working on a lot is performance. So hopefully you've probably noticed, before working in Classic, it takes some time to load the screens, etc. There's a little bit of lags in the system. So there has been a lot of work done regarding performance in Neo, and that we obviously continue to do. It's built on the latest technology. Classic is Flash-based, which is, it's not technically our choice to shut it down, but there's no longer going to be support for Flash in the most common web browsers after the end of the year, which is why we have this new interface. Also, the benefits of Neo, it's mobile. You can use Neo on a tablet. You can even log into Neo on your phone. It's accessible everywhere, as opposed to Classic. We have a couple new concepts. Pardon me. A couple new concepts. We have base schedules. You are used to using fixed schedules in Classic, fixed schedules or templates. We have taken those concepts and rolled them up into a new concept in Neo called base schedules. So we'll go through and look at that today and show you how to work with base schedules. But the process is exactly the same. You build your base schedule, you roll it out, and you publish it exactly the same way as you do with fixed schedules in Classic today. So let me go ahead and go into the system. So now we're accessing web.quinyx.com. Sorry, let me get my right login here. I'm going to log in as a local manager, somebody who schedules in my unit. And when I get into the system, I am taken to a dashboard, similarly to what happens in Classic. On the dashboard, I can see upcoming events on the left, leave applications, birthdays, etc. I have a little staffing widget where I can see scheduled hours versus worked hours, day for day, a week, or a month. Also, I have big, bold colors as far as things that I, as a scheduler, need to take action on. Leave applications, notices of interest, etc. So those are the things that we see on the dashboard when we log in. We will be working to allow you to customize the dashboard as we get further into the development of Neo, but these are the widgets that we have today. And if I move across the top, I can get to the different modules. Under the schedule module, I have base schedules and schedule. And like I said, the base schedule is where I create my reoccurring pattern of the schedule. So like your fixed schedules today in Classic, this is where we build those. We'll get back to that. And then our schedule view, which is where you do all of your work, your daily schedule management. So remember, in Classic, we have a schedule tab and a time tab. Those things have basically been combined in the schedule tab now. You do your daily schedule work, but you also do your test work under the schedule. And you can get to the time cards from here and everything else. So we'll go through that. But we do have a time tab, and the time tab is mainly for your payroll person or payroll department. This is where they would go and pull the payroll file every week or every month or however often that happens at your company, but that happens under the time tab. This time tab can also be used by you as a local manager to ensure that everything is ready to be transferred for payroll, but you can also do that in here. So we'll talk about both. People tab is same as you have in Classic, all your staff members. We have the Analytics tab, which is the reports. And then we have a Forecast tab, which those of you who use our Forecast module will see the details of your forecast in here. You'll also see the details of you also see some key metrics under statistics in the schedule, which again, we'll get back to. Coming across the top on the right-hand side, I have a drop-down menu here, and depending on your levels of access is what you see in this drop-down. Now, there's also been a huge revamping of access rights in Neo. There's a lot more flexibility in Neo than what we ever had in Classic. You can, in Neo, be a local manager over several stores. You can in Neo, if you are, for example, a district manager, you can click on the district to see all of the districts, all of the units in the district. You can see their schedules on one screen. So there's a lot of great stuff that's happened to access rights, which your internal super users would have set up for you. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on that. But anyway, whatever you have access to in the system is what you can see and access in this dropdown. So we have districts. If you have access to districts, you have your units, depending on what units you have access to. And then if you are currently working with sections or departments, you can get to your section through here as well. And you can schedule on a unit level. You can also schedule on the section level if that's how you work. We have our Q mails on the top right-hand side. No new functionality there. You can send your Q mails. You can add attachments. You can have read receipts. You can mark them as important. You can send them directly to people, or you can send them as group messages to specific units. We'll also see in the schedule view, you have the option to filter for specific people, and then you could just send a message just to them. So we'll point that out. Over on the far right-hand side, I am Axel Rose today, the local manager of Christine's HQ. If I go in this drop down here, you guys won't see account settings as local managers. You might see group settings. This is all depending on how your internal super users have configured Quinyx. Group settings under here would allow me to see the organization, the hierarchy of how my unit is set up. So for Christine's HQ, we have the unit level, and then we have the sections below it. If I click on the unit level here, I can see the employees that are added to my unit, and I can also administer what access they have in the system. If I click on, for example, Aaron here, I could add a role for him we're going to elevate him from an employee to an assistant manager, for example. And this is also a new great improvement that we've done, whereas you can actually set an end date for a role. So I can say, I want Aaron in this case, to be the assistant manager while I'm on vacation. And then when I get back from vacation, his role is going to fall off, and he's going to be an employee again. So a lot of improvements that have been done around roles and access rights, and you can administer those, your roles rather, under the group settings that we're looking at. You also have a devices option. If your staff members are punching in and out on their phones, you can authorize the phone through here. You can also authorize the phone via the individual staff card, the way you have done it in the past under the People tab for each individual. But this is sort of like a mass turn on authorized cell phones for people to punch in and out. Then we have shift types. If you are somebody who creates local shift types for your unit, then you can add shift types here. So that's basically what I wanted to show under the group settings. Then we have an option in this menu called pause notifications. So the pause notifications, probably you're familiar with this from Classic. You know that when you're working in a published period, and if you know, published meaning, the schedule is available for your staff member to see in the mobile app. If you know that if you are making changes to a schedule, push notifications, queue mails go to the staff members, notifying them of changes that you're making. Pause notifications will allow you to tell the system, don't send any of these notifications, because right now I'm going to make a lot of changes to the schedule and I don't want these notifications to go out. So you could pause it, for example, for 15 minutes while you're working, and then the system will say that no notifications will go out until 15 minutes later, and you're done. Keep in mind, though, that it is the change itself that generates the notification. So if you are making a lot of changes and you have turned off the notifications, then you have to somehow inform them of the changes manually or via QMail or however you want to do that. So that is the pause notifications function, to not send QMails when you're making changes to the schedule. You can change your language inside the application. In Classic, we had to log out and change the language and log back in. So now you can do it within the system. The help feature. Hopefully you guys have seen this. The help feature is our help docs. This is our online manuals. We have everything in here. So all the information that you need about moving to Neo, upgrading to Neo, is in here. That's hopefully probably how you found the training today. You can also listen to the recordings of the training. So if you are dying to hear my voice some more, you can listen to these recorded trainings from the past sessions that we've done. And we're also recording this one, just so you're aware. FAQs, great to look at. And basically some how information under here. Very, very useful stuff. Then also Neo itself. What did Christine say about base schedules? How do I add a staff member? You can look at that heading and get into the how-to articles in here. And you can also search for articles in this application. Also to point out the news and release notes. So you've probably also noticed we are developing Neo at a rapid pace. We have bi-weekly releases. Every other week we are releasing new functionality. So if there's anything in the system that you don't recognize or something that you want to learn more about, check out the release notes. They're all in the help docs. And lastly, something I want to show in here, if you haven't seen it yet, if you don't want to go back and listen to the hour recording of what we're doing here in the webinars, under the Neo tab, I believe, let's see if I can find it. We have, I could search for it as well, but we have the Neo video tutorials. So the Neo video tutorials, these are little 2-minute videos of all the concepts that we'll go through today. So if you want, again, if you want to see what did Christine say about adding a new staff member? Well, you can go listen or look at a 2-minute video instead of going through an hour-long webinar. So these are little 2-3-minute videos, super helpful. I highly recommend that you share these with any of your colleagues if you or they haven't seen these, because they have proven to be quite useful to people upgrading to Neo. So a little tip for you. And that is found then under help, that's help docs, but also you can find the same information by clicking on the little lighthouse on the bottom right-hand side. Send us feedback. So we are constantly working to make Neo better. If you have any ideas of how to help us do that, you have a straight line into the product to Carl and his product team with this feature. You can send the feedback and everything is read and categorized and considered. Even if they may not reply, it's definitely read. Very important, however, of course, to point out that this is not a support feature. This is not, if you're experiencing a bug or problem, you still go through the current process that you do today. You contact your internal super user, and then they can contact our support team. This is just to help us improve the system. Give us feedback, which we appreciate. Switch to staff portal. So as you know, in Classic, we have a staff portal and an admin portal. Now, if you are somebody who not only schedules others in Quinyx, but you also you also are scheduled in Quinyx, I should say, this is the new staff portal. They're not two different portals like we have in Classic, but rather your access rights determines where you get to in the system. So if I have an employee role, I'm always I'm always taken to the staff portal. But if I'm a manager, I'm taken to the manager portal. Now, if you are a manager who needs to access the staff portal, maybe you want to send your own leave applications or see what your schedule is going to look like, whatever the case may be, you can switch to the staff portal here. So that's the information that we have on the right-hand side, group settings, pause notifications, help and feedback. The account settings is most likely not something that you as local managers or schedulers see, but rather the internal super users within your organization. Let me move on then to people. I'm going to look at people here. Under the People tab is your staff members. This is no different than what we've had historically in Classic. We can add a new staff member by clicking on Add. You have whatever fields are required with a red asterisk. First name, last name, email. You can send welcome emails or choose not to. Set a badge number, etc. Just want to point out here that if you remember back to the Classic days, we had to go to the People tab and add a staff card and save it. Then we had to go to a different view to remember to add an agreement template. So there's been some improvements here in my mind where all of the most important things that we need to fill out are directly on that first page when we add a new employee, which is the agreement template and the employee rate. So I don't have to go somewhere else to find it and remember to add the template. So, and then all the other, information, if you add phone numbers, addresses, things like that are here as well. Looking at an existing employee, we have the names, badge number, email address, login information, whatever agreements they have. If you are currently using our digital signing functionality, you'll also see little icons here, same as Classic. Skills, what unit and section the person belongs to, and then what role they have or roles. So remember, I told you you can administer your roles under group settings, but you can also do it here under people. If I click on Aaron here as an employee, I can either add a role if we're going to elevate him to some sort of other role here under Christine's HQ, but also I can share employees to other units. So if Aaron needs to work in other places, I can share him under this menu. Now, you have noticed maybe that under here, there's a sharing across units option. On December 7th, which is a couple days away, we will be turning on mobile access rights in Neo. And what that means is that you're going to want to share your employees from this menu here when you share them to other stores. Also, if I go into an existing employee, I can obviously change any of the people details on the left. And then on the right-hand side, I have the agreement details where I can change agreements, change employee rates, or whatever the case may be. All the same information that you've had historically in Classic. Under the display option, I can choose to view inactive staff members or expired agreements. I can obviously search to find a person. We don't see everyone on one page, but I can scroll through the pages if I have more staff members. And on the far right-hand side, when I add new staff members and I don't want to send them the password send them a welcome email as I'm going through it, that's something I can do later by sending a password email, and I can pick and choose who I want to send that to. That's the People tab. Let's move on then to look at the brand new concept, which is the base schedule. So under schedule and base schedule, I come in here, and the base schedule again is basically where we've taken the concept of a fixed schedule and a schedule template and rolled them up into one new concept called the base schedule. The difference between a base schedule and a fixed schedule is that with a fixed schedule, you create one per person. A base schedule, you create one base schedule per unit. You can stick all of your employees in the one base schedule. Same concept after that. You create your template once and you can reuse it over and over and over. I say one base schedule per unit. However, there's of course sometimes reason to have more than one base schedule in a unit. Maybe you want to have your salaried Monday through Friday employees in one base schedule, and you want to have your hourly staff members who work on a little bit, maybe a 4-week rotation in a different base schedule. And that's a good reason to have separate base schedules. Maybe your schedule looks one way in the summer and a different way in the winter. Well, that's another reason you might want to separate the base schedules. So it's really up to how you want to work in the system, but technically you can have every user or every person in one base schedule. So looking at the base schedule, I would say create new. I would come in here and give my base schedule a name. I'll call mine 2 weeks. You can call it whatever you want. It's just some way for you to recognize which one you want to use or what you've done with it. And then the template period is the reoccurring pattern of the schedule, right? So it can go all the way up to 24 weeks, but to make it easy for the demo here, I'll say that my reoccurring pattern is 2 weeks. People work one way week 1 and a different way in week 2. And I say create new. I go into my base schedule and I have basically 2 weeks of an empty schedule that I will start to add to. Over here on the very left-hand side, I see my available staff and base schedule hours, what I have scheduled, versus preliminary nominal hours. They're contracted hours, what they should be scheduled for in a 2-week period. I will go ahead and say add. I'll start building my schedule. I'll start with Aaron. How does he work? Well, he works at the front desk, and he works at the front desk on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday on week 1, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday on week 2, let's say. And then I can save it. So very quick and easy to create that row for Aaron. What I can do after that is click on these little 3 dots, and I could say if we have more people who work on roughly the same rotation, I can copy his schedule to other people. So I can say maybe that Adam and Marie and Lena, they work the same rotation as Aaron, but let's say they stagger weeks. So Aaron's week 1 is all these other people's week 2. And I can save it. And I've quickly created the same schedule, but flip the weeks. I can obviously go into a shift and change the shift type, for example. If I want to add manual shifts here like this, I can go to any cell and say add shift and put whatever shift I need to in there. I can also copy and paste shifts. So if I pick the shift here with a little hand, you see it saves like a clipboard at the bottom, and I can either copy or move it to another cell wherever I want it to be. If I schedule somebody too much or whatever rules I'm breaking, I will get a warning right away here. I can also add unassigned shifts. Let's say we have shifts. I want two front desk shifts. Let me do a different shift type. 2 morning shifts on Mondays every other week that I don't know in advance who's going to take, but I need them in the base schedule. I can quickly create unassigned shifts as well and have those be part of my base schedule. If again, how much somebody should be scheduled, here we can see that Aaron is scheduled 8 hours, too few hours, 8 hours too little. Adam is right on the dot. And if we saw, anything that we've scheduled somebody too much, it would be, that would be visible as well with a number in bold. If I come up here on the top right-hand side, I have my display and statistics. If I want to look at how many hours in total I've added to my base schedule, I can look at the statistics. I have the total number on the left and per day breakdown as I go across. Now, what do I want to see here? Well, different people might want to see different things. And if I click on this little pencil, I can pick and choose what information I want to see. Maybe you don't work with salary costs in the system. Maybe you don't have optimal headcount, but you can pick and choose exactly what you want to see here. And you can sort of pick what day that you want to overlay this in the actual schedule to see what the optimal staffing would be. So if I make a change here and I want to include something else, it grays out. I have to refresh the screen to be able to see what I want. And I can visualize these statistics in different ways. I can visualize them as you can see pretty graphs here. I can, if I'm more of a numbers person, I can see this as numbers if I click on this option here. Or if I click on the sum, then I'll get the total sums at the bottom of what I've chosen to see. So a very good way to make sure that you've scheduled enough, you have enough, as many hours as you expect in the base schedule under statistics. We also have a filter option. The filter option is useful if I want to make sure maybe that I've scheduled enough morning shifts, for example. I can filter out the morning shifts. There's all sorts of different ways to filter, which is we're going to show you in the schedule itself is going to be even more important. When I'm happy with my base schedule, the next step is to roll it out. Just before I do that, I want to talk about one other thing. The fixed schedules one per person, right? So let's say you have all these people in the one base schedule. So what happens if you just want to roll out one person? Maybe you've hired someone new 6 months down the line and you have stuck them into this base schedule that you've been using. Well, that's another reason to use the filter. If you filter for an employee, when you roll out, you're only going to roll out their row. So the filter option is very, very, very useful. Just to be clear there. And again, before I roll out, on the far right-hand side, if you say, you know what, this base schedule is no good, I'm going to delete everything and start over, you have delete option. You could also delete, if I had filtered for Marie, for example, if I want to just get rid of her row, if I delete all, it's just going to delete whatever is filtered. So when I'm ready to roll it out, I click roll out. I pick the dates in the calendar I want to roll it out for. Let's see, can you believe that the year is almost over? I will do a week in January. And then we roll this out. When I'm taking back to my base schedule screen here, and it's going to roll it out, but also same thing as we have in Classic, right? It's going to check if I'm breaking any rules of the agreements. And it is saying that, yes, it was rolled out with a red exclamation mark, but there are warnings. So you have to go in and handle the warnings. When we click in to look at the warnings, we have different options in here. We have the rollout anyway, despite the warning. We have don't roll out because I don't want to break the rules of the agreement, or yes, roll this shift out, but unassigned, not attached to that person because I don't want to break the rules of their agreement. And I can do the same. I can do an action for all of the warnings. I can do an action for all of Adam's warnings, or I can pick shift by shift what I want to do. I will break every rule and just roll it out anyway. And once it's rolled out, I'll get the little green check mark. And then we are going to work in the schedule. And remember, the last step, sorry, when I go into the schedule, I should say, I'm taken to the daily view. I'm taking to today's date. I just switched it here to a week because I like the weekly view. Obviously, you can pick and choose what you want to look at. But that being said, the last step that I have to do when I'm happy with what I've done on the far right-hand side, I have to publish my schedule. And publish my schedule, same thing as you've always been doing in Classic, making it visible to your employees in the mobile app and in the staff portal. So you create your base schedule, you roll it out, and you publish it. So moving on from the base schedules, if we talk about our daily sort of schedule work that we do, if I come in to the schedule, and again, I chose to look at a week, I see my shifts and my associated punches. I see leaves in black in the system. I see leave applications that I haven't yet approved with the gray background. I can see notices of interest with the green background. And also I can see here that Elena on Thursday, which is today, she's working at a different store. She belongs to me, but she's lent out to a different store. If we look over here, again, scheduled hours versus nominal or contracted hours. Is somebody scheduled enough or too few hours? In this case, Erin is scheduled too few hours. Well, what information am I seeing here? Well, if I click on this little, I don't know what to call this icon, but the employee list display options, how do I want to view this data? Well, right now the system is looking at the schedule period. Whatever the schedule period is in the agreement template, that's the information I'm seeing here. Well, let's say I want to look at instead what I'm looking at the week. I want to look at the employee metric calculation for the week. If I choose the week, then I can see that Aaron is right on track with his hours for the week. And Elena is working a little bit too much. If I want more details, I can click on these little 3 dots, and we have something down here called the employee metrics. If I click on that, it's basically like when you hover on a staff member under the scheduled staff view in Classic, you get all the details of scheduled hours versus contracted or nominal, worked versus nominal, expected, what they've punched so far this week and what's scheduled for the rest of the week, and then what has been rolled out versus worked. And then you can have the selected period, and you can see also the schedule period from the agreement template. And if I have several agreements, I'll see all the details there, making sure that I'm scheduled somebody enough. If I go across the top here, we have an add button, an add shift, add absence, add punch. I kind of like to, if I'm going to add a shift, I go to the cell and click on the plus sign to add a shift. If I'm going to add an absence, I would go to the shift where I'm adding an absence and do it there. Or if I'm adding a punch, you see punch missing, I could just click on it to do it here. So there's different ways of doing the same thing in the system, but this is, that's what this is saying. Then I click across, I already showed you this. I can pick and choose what I want to view in the schedule. And I'm looking at the week. I can toggle back and forth between the weeks by clicking on the arrows. Coming across the top again, statistics to follow up to make sure that you've scheduled enough. Are you working with our forecasts and optimal staffing in the system? You can make sure that you are optimally scheduled with these menus. Same thing here with the pen. You pick and choose what you want to see here. Let's see if whatever data I have here. Salary cost, if you're working with that as well, you can pick that and view all of this data. And when you change your choices, it's grayed out. So you have to refresh the page for the system to recalculate. So the scheduled hours, I can see my totals, and I can then see it broken down by day. And again, if I wanted to see graphs, I can click on the graphs, and I can see my schedule, my optimal head count, sales, little graphs here that you can track and follow. Or again, if I'm a numbers person, or if I want to see the sums. So you pick and choose what you want to see in here, and then you refresh the screen to recalculate. But a lot of great information under the statistics option to follow up what you've scheduled. And then we have the filter option. The filter option is vital. Right now that we've taken all of the information and stuck it here in the schedule view, the screen can tend to become, there's a lot here, basically. So the filter option is vital. What do I want to look at? You can create and save your filters depending on what it is you want to do. So, okay, today I want to just look at I want to handle my leave applications. Well, I have a saved filter for leave requests, and I can click on that, and then I see whatever leave applications and leaves I have. For example, you can filter for all sorts of things in here. Maybe you want to filter for a shift type or a specific employee, which is common down here. Maybe you want to filter for everything that's unattested. Remember, you do all of your test work in here too. So if you want to get rid of everything that is attested and only see what's unattested, you have that option, and you could create and save a filter for it. So a lot of good functionality in here. However, at the moment, you are bound to, everyone has to create their own filters. As we get, again, further into the development, the plan is to have, global or suggested filters in some fashion, but right now everybody has to create their own. So those are the filters. And then as I come across here, the little bell with the red numbers, these are my notifications. This is everything. Remember from the dashboard, these bright colored numbers, everything that I as a scheduler have to take action on. Shifts to approve. Marie has applied to take one of my open shifts. If shift and assignment request, Marie has asked to get out of a shift. She wants the day off on Friday. You guys, but depending on your configuration, these options might be different for you, but any leave applications, all that sort of stuff is handled under the little bell here. Now, if we do talk about leave applications, again, you go to the bell and you can handle it from here, or you can click on the leave application itself, the one that's grayed out in the system. So Marie has applied for leave. I click on vacation and you see your time trackers. If you have time trackers in the system, we can see that she does have enough vacation time in order for me to approve this time. If you use absence schedules in the system, you can choose that. And what happens to the underlying shift? Well, we don't need anybody to replace Marie. That's actually today. So we didn't get anyone to replace her. I'm going to approve her vacation. And now we have the black leave in here. So that's how I approve a leave application. But what if you need to manually add a leave? Well, let's say over here, Anne, she punched missing. She never showed up for work on Tuesday. She was sick. If I click into the shift, if I choose more options and scroll down, I have an add absence option. I click on that. I choose the type of absence. Obviously, if the absence was longer, I could select the different dates. But same thing, again, what happens to the underlying shift? Well, this happened a couple of days ago, so I can delete the underlying shift and I can save it. So click into the shift when you want to manually add an absence. And absences appear as black. So from absences then into the test work, we have shifts, we have associated punches. Anything with a red frame around it means that there's a warning associated to it. If I click into the punch, I can see what the warnings are. These warnings are going to be different, again, depending on your configuration, but whatever warnings you are used to, that's what you'll see. I can also in here change the times if I need to. I can also, if I look, let's say here, punch missing, like I mentioned, somebody forgot to punch in and out. If I click on punch missing and I say add, it's just going to add the same start and end time as the shift itself. And I can go in and edit that if I need to. So pretty easy to add a punch if anybody has forgotten to punch in and out. So that's how I can view my warnings. I can also attest the work, right? Attest the times by just clicking in these boxes, exactly the same thing as we do in Classic. I check the box. I could check the box for attest everything for Monday. I could attest everything for Aaron. That's attestable. Using the attest all. And there's nothing left to attest for his week, but it would look at the week and attest everything that could be attested. But sorry, if you want to look at, I want to look at what salary codes are being generated with this. If you need more detail, you see here, every punch has a little date associated to it. If I click on the date, I'm taken into the time card. I have my shift, which I can edit if I need to. I have my associated punch. I have a summary of my scheduled and worked hours on the top right-hand side, and then I have my salary overview. If you are a customer who manually adds salary types, you could do that by clicking on the plus sign. Also, if there are other things you want to see here, you can adjust the view. So yes, I want to see the time tracker balances. Yes, I want to see cost centers and the sections. Maybe you don't work with these things. So you can pick and choose what you want to see in these time cards by clicking on the adjust view option. And if you add the time trackers, you can then see the time tracker balances towards the bottom. And if you pick dates here, you can also see the time tracker transactions and adjust them if that's something that you're allowed to do. So that's the time cards, and I can again toggle through my time cards at the top. And that's how we do all of our test work. You can also on the top, very top right-hand side, attest everything that you're looking at. Once everything is attested for a period, let's see if I have a good example of that. Not really, but once everything is attested that can be attested for a period, a green frame appears around the person's avatar. And that way you know that you've attested everything. But also remember, you do have the filter option to where you can filter away anything that is attested. If you choose unattested, to just make sure that you only see what is unattested. And hopefully if you have, if you have a blank screen, if you filter by unattested, then you're ready to go for payroll, right? You've done all your work. If you are somebody who wants to double and triple check, you do have the time option in here to where you could, for a date, choose the filter options, and you can then see, make sure that it's everything is marked in green, ready to be transferred. Again, mainly this is used for your payroll department, but it does allow you to double, triple check that you have attested everything in the period. Okay, let me just quickly show the analytics tab. These are reports, all the reports that you are used to in Classic, and some of you use different ones. So I'm not going to go into detail here. Again, if you use our forecast module to see the details of your forecast, you could access that under the forecast tab. So that's basically what I wanted to show in the system. I'm going to mention a couple more things for you to take along with you on the road ahead before we open up for questions. I just want to reiterate a couple things. What's next? Where can you find answers? Well, the new interface web.quinyx.com, I'm pretty confident that that has not gone unnoticed by anyone at this point. You know where to go to log into Neo. Quinyx.com/Neo if you want to read a little bit more general information about the transition. We have a webpage for it, but mainly Quinyx Help Docs. What I showed, the help feature, the lighthouse feature in Quinyx has everything. Q&As, the video tutorials, the release notes, the articles, all of the information you need is in there. And we obviously constantly are working on this and improving that. And again, if you have any feedback of how we can improve that as well, you can always send it through to us. Your super user. So as a scheduler, if you have questions, you already know the process. You contact your super user internally, who in turn can reach out to our support team in Stockholm. Now, you have been noticing that we have been switching off views in the system to prepare you for what's coming. So just to mention what's next, migrate fixed schedules ? Just for those of you who are sitting there thinking, Christine just showed us base schedules. This is really scary because I've spent so much time perfecting my fixed schedules in Classic. We can help you. We can migrate your fixed schedules from Classic to Neo if you feel like you want us to do that. So if that's something that you want to do, then you contact your super user and they can contact us or the support team to help you migrate the fixed schedules that you've already built from Classic to Neo. You know, on a personal note, as an educator, I kind of like the idea of taking the time to actually learn how to create a base schedule from scratch, to actually do it from scratch. I understand that's time consuming, but it's valuable to learn. The other benefit of not migrating your fixed schedules might be, that it's a chance for you guys to improve your schedules. Maybe there are things that you could do differently or better. So just so you know, if that's how you're feeling, we can help you migrate fixed schedules. As far as important dates, I've already noticed that we're starting to redirect some of the views. The schedule staff view was redirected the beginning of the week. The reports and statistics takes you to analytics now. The December 7th, the mobile access rights, I put that in parentheses because really that is not something that you as schedulers need to worry about. That's something that your super users have been made aware of and need to take action on, possibly if there need to be any changes. But if everything is all well and ready with your mobile access rights and it's working the way it should in Classic, then you don't really need to do anything for that date. December 21st, however, app.quinyx.com, I'm sorry, there's a typo in there. App.quinyx.com will be redirected to web.quinyx.com. So you will technically, the end of the year is when we say the Classic will no longer be accessible, but we are actually redirecting it on December 21st. If you still need to get to Classic between December 21st and the end of the year, you can go to web.quinyx.com/classic. Okay, so we are going to open up for questions. Anyone who for some reason doesn't want to stay, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you taking this time to learn and ask questions, of course. I'm going to stop the recording for the Q&A.